It's the end of 2024 and time to think back on the many great games that came out this year. We've each got our favourites, and while it's impossible to say any one game is the best of the year, we're about to do exactly that because that's how these things work. So watch on to see which games Jane, Mike, Ellen and myself chose as our top title this year, and let us know your personal pick for GOTY in the comments.
Hi folks, my game of the year is Satisfactory.
What?
Yeah!
In a Dragon Age year?
We'll get on to it being a Dragon Age year. My game of the year is Satisfactory. It is a first-person game where you play a sort of engineer-explorer type dropped onto an unexplored alien world by a morally ambiguous aperture science-like corporation.
Congratulations, you are the third in your region to survive planetfall.
And you have to harvest and craft and build and make a factory.
This is like your dream scenario. I can see why you like this game.
Basically exploit the hell out of this like untouched natural alien world.
Go team!
GOTY! It's a little bit like the fantasy of Matt Damon in that The Martian film.
Yeah.
But if Matt Damon built like a sort of city-sized factory.
And was in less constant peril.
The main thing to know about the world that you're on is it's really beautiful. It has this sort of awesome scale and this exotic alien flora and fauna, and it has that sense of like wonder and exploration that I really wanted from Starfield. But actually it's here. And you're on your own, you're striking out, you're looking for resources, you're looking for something to mine, you're looking for like new creatures to research. You start with a sort of few buildings, like a workshop bench and a box to store your stuff in, and it's very cute. And you're sort of, a pioneer.
Animal Crossing, that sounds.
Actually a pioneer. It also scratches my Animal Crossing itch, so you can see how it's got all of these bits and pieces that make it just like primed to be my game of the year. But over time, you're creating this bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually like city-sized factory that's like belching fumes and marring the landscape with all its kind of orange and black industrial pistons whirring away.
Right.
And yeah, exactly. And you're like, wait, am I the bad guy?
Yeah.
Project Assembly initialized. Congratulations, Pioneer. The space elevator will now automatically connect with the Project Assembly orbital platform.
It's not laid on too thickly, but there is a kind of theme of, I guess, like low-key environmentalism. Like you're here to do industrial things and to exploit the landscape, but at what cost? But also very much if you're just here to enjoy how it's a really tactile, really satisfying, obviously, first-person experience where you're kind of chonking together modular bits of machinery and long, like snaky conveyor belts that are, like ferrying in real time, ferrying your components from one part of your factory to another part of your factory. It is so satisfying to like see it all coming together. It's a bit like playing, like a strategy game with a tech tree where you're building stuff and harvesting resources, except you're right in it. And the first time you have to like tase an alien like herbivore to death, you're like, oh, I don't feel good about that. And eventually you're just like, tase, 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 make a bigger gun, kill, 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 make a bigger factory. It just feels so good, just clunking together like Lego pieces of a factory.
What's
and
your
then
factory
the factory
making?
works. Bits! What's it making? Components. What are the components for? Making other things. I'm just making stuff, Andy. I'm just
For the sake of making.
Just being productive. It's about being a productive member of a society of one person.
It is time to be honest. This project is part of the Save the Day program, the largest united undertaking in human history, destined to save us all. Earth is in peril and only Fix-It pioneers offer hope for survival. Fix-It is counting on you. Humanity is counting on you. Do not let Fix-It down.
So that's my game of the year. I freaking love it. It came out in early access in 2019. It's now out for real, properly out now as of September 2024. And it is, late to the party, as in late Comer in 2024, my game of the year. I hadn't expected. Do you know what? I had a little bit expected to enjoy it because I did think, oh, that sounds like my kind of thing. But I hadn't expected to love it the way I really love this game. Like Andy said, it's got a little bit of that sort of Animal Crossing, like control your environment, harvest, but with none of those stupid animals talking to you and trying to be your friend.
Well, you just feed them into some kind of mincing.
Yeah, you just
You
tase
can't
them.
tase Tom Nook, can you?
Get out of my way, animals. Yeah.
Processing down into biofuels.
Yeah.
Stay within your designated. And that is why the world is counting on pioneers like you.
I note that we included it in our games that are basically glorified jobs. Do you think that was an unfair representation?
No, it's a glorified job. I'm just really good at my glorified job.
Right.
Yeah. My honourable mention, let's talk about the Dragon Age of it all.
Okay.
I love
Go.
I love Dragon Age. I love Dragon Age the Veilguard. I wouldn't be talking about it now if I didn't love it. I would be talking about a different game. I love it. I'm not in love with it.
I believe in all of us.
Did you try selecting all the heart options?
I did try selecting all the heart options. You know what? I'm having a wonderful time with Dragon Age the Veilguard. No shade, I think it is excellent. I haven't connected with it the way I've connected with previous Dragon Age
Is it
games.
because you got rejected by the person you fancy?
No, Mike, not everything is about getting off with the most fanciable
This
character.
is a BioWare game we're talking about.
First kisses? It's been a while. I might need a refresher.
I don't want to talk about the things that where I think it has shortcomings, because I want to celebrate it, because I'm mentioning it as my honourable mention. I think it is a beautiful, charming, expansive BioWare RPG. I love the characters and the world, the lore. It really takes big swings with expanding on the Dragon Age lore and the Dragon Age world and the Solus and the Varric of it all. Love that stuff.
Two ancient elven gods. They were horrific tyrants. The worst is still coming. Unless we stop them.
I keep wanting to talk about the little tweaks, the little changes I think it would benefit from, but that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about why I love it. I love the gentleman necromancer. He's great. Talking about romance, surprise hit out of left field. Gentleman necromancer. He's a professor of dead people.
Oh. Professor Emmerich Volkaren of the Morn Watch.
Hello, Professor.
Mike says I've got to say why it's not my game of the year. And I found it a bit needy. It really wants you to have a good time. It is trying so hard to give you a good time. And part of me is just perverse enough to be a bit keen, aren't you, Dragon Age?
Right.
Stop being so nice.
This may look like your therapist's office, but...
The way Dragon Age, the Veilguard, simplifies and streamlines, I feel like those are all really smart choices that will work for a lot of people. And I'm not saying I'm special, I'm just saying I kind of liked the less streamlined and the less accessible version, where it is a little bit eccentric or a little bit inaccessible or a little bit clunky. In a world where we've had, I'm going to say it, Baldur's Gate 3, I got on so well with that system that was kind of hard to get on board with, that was kind of demanding and whatever the opposite of needy is.
Wow, thank you.
What I suspect is going to happen is that I'm going to keep playing Dragon Age, the Veilguard, and love it more and more as I go, because I remember that was the arc when I played Dragon Age Inquisition. The deeper I got, the more I played, the more it hooked me. So I'm a fair ways into Veilguard, which I understand is an enormous game. I think the longer I spend with it, the more I'm going to love it. I'm just not quite there yet. So in retrospect, maybe I'll love it as much as Satisfactory, to be honest.
Maybe it'll be your game of next year.
Maybe it'll be my game of next year. Maybe when I get to smoosh someone, it'll go from here to hit.
Now we get to what the problem is. There we go.
If you do it with that necromancer, you know the skeleton's going to be watching.
The skeleton can watch.
Oh my god.
You know I can't turn down spending more time with you.
How lovely to hear you say so.
Hey, it's me, Andy, and I'm here to tell you what the best game of this year was. Now, if you listen to these two, they'll say, oh, nothing came out this year. That's what they sound like. That's their voice.
That is my
Oh, there were no games this year. There were loads of games this year. It's been a great year for games with tons of good remakes, right? Silent Hill 2 was excellent. Luigi's Mansion 2, the remake of that. I've been playing a lot of that. It's great. Other great games. I've been working my way through Echoes of Wisdom recently, the new Zelda game. It's brilliant. But in terms of my actual games of the year, my honorable mention this year goes to a little game called Balatro. Now, Balatro actually came out in February this year, but I didn't really pay it much attention back then until it came out on mobile, which was in September, and now it occupies my every waking thought. Balatro, if you're unaware, it's a kind of poker game. Jane's been playing it too. You know Jane.
Yeah, I
you know
love
what it's.
Balatro.
Balatro is awesome. So it's like poker in that you're dealt a hand of cards, and you have to create poker hands out of this, and then you score points based on a chip value and a multiplier. But it's also a roguelite in that you get jokers, like RNG jokers that you can buy as you play through the game. You can have up to 5 of these, and they all have different effects. Like they can multiply your multiplier, or they can give you more chips, or they can, if you play a 2-pair, they'll give you a bonus to that particular hand. You can level up hands, so things like a 2-pair can be more valuable than a royal flush if you level it up. You can buy extra cards to put into your hand, so you can get 5, 6, 7 kings in a single hand. It is so Moorish, and the fact that you can play it on your cell phone, I think, is the big thing for Balatro, because it's fine playing on a Steam Deck or whatever, but just having it on your phone and being able to get it out and do a run or two on a train.
I'm playing it right now.
Trip. Jane is, instead of paying attention, Jane is literally playing Balatro right now on her phone.
Andy.
The art style is great. They've got all these creepy looking pixel art jokers. The music's sort of all hazy and weird. It's got real cool atmosphere to it. The more you play it, the more cards you unlock, the more cool little jokers you get. There are all these little challenges. I spent maybe 20 minutes playing the other day just trying to get a royal flush so I could discard it, because there's a joker you unlock for discarding a royal flush. So I was just going through trying to get a royal flush over and over again. It's incredibly good. If you haven't tried it, Balatro on your phone, maybe after you finish seeing your family, because otherwise you'll get accused of not spending any time with them, because you will be playing Balatro on your phone.
Balatro. Never underestimate a joker.
My actual pick for Game of the Year, however, is a game that came out all the way back in January, and you might not even remember that this came out this year, but it did, and it is Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which may be the best RPG I've ever played.
Whoa!
Yeah, I know. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is the second Like a Dragon game to be an RPG. So these are the previously known as Yakuza games. The last one, Like a Dragon, Yakuza : Like a Dragon, became a turn-based RPG. And this one, well, I really like a Dragon, but this one, I think it really solidifies all the ideas they were sort of playing around with in the first one, and they've really got the hang of it now. The combat in this is just fantastic. Before, it was a little bit clunky as they were sort of getting to grips with the turn-based RPG party style combat. Nailed it in this one. It's got all kinds of great little additions. You can move around before you actually do your move, so you can move closer to allies, you can move closer to enemies, you can do combos and team up attacks. It's got all kinds of new jobs for your characters, which are the classes. There's Pyro Dancer,
is a new class. You can be a cowboy in this one, doing all kind of like trick shooting attacks. One of them, you're like a surfer slash scuba diver. You've got all these water-based attacks. It's brilliant. The story is all set in Hawaii. Now, we're not all set in Hawaii. It's sort of half in Japan, half in Hawaii. But Hawaii is like a really nice change of pace from Kamurocho, which is where all the previous Yakuza games have been kind of primarily set. It's just really sunny and nice, and you can just go along the beaches, and like one mechanic in the game is you just sort of wave to people and they're like, hey, nice to see you, and they get added to your like little social network thing, and you get bonuses for like making a bunch of friends around town. This is really nice. The story is really cool. It kind of focuses on like Hawaii specific problems with like tourism and kind of development, pushing out the locals and stuff like that.
Guys
which is
in Speedos.
People in Speedos. Hawaii specific problem. It's important. But you've got your main protagonist, Ichiban Kasuga, who was the guy from the last one, who is just, I think, one of the greatest video game protagonists ever. He's so enthusiastic about everything, and he's just so open and friendly and honest. And even though he's like an organized crime punching man, he's also just a massive cinnamon roll with the sort of attitude of an excitable puppy, which is just, it works so well.
Yahoo! かな? それ山で叫ぶやつじゃねえの? 山彦とか.
But also you have Kiryu, who is the kind of legacy protagonist of these Yakuza games, in there as well. And he's got this really emotionally impactful story where, minor spoilers, it was in the trailer and stuff, but Kiryu, he has a terminal illness and he's sort of coming to terms with that. And he's got like a bucket list thing that you can do as a sort of side quest in addition to the main story, where you travel around all his old haunts in Kamurocho and you visit places that were significant to him throughout the history of the Yakuza games, and sort of make peace with things, and sort of go to see characters that Kiryu can't be in touch with anymore because it would put them in danger, but you sort of check in on them and make sure they're okay. And Kiryu's like, yes, I have made sure that their life will be good from now on. And it's really nice. And if you're a person who's played a bunch of Yakuza games in the past, it's really satisfying in terms of fan service as well, which I really appreciated. Loads of there's like a whole game's worth of side stuff to do. There's an Animal Crossing island that you can build your own resort in the middle of the Pacific. I spent hours and hours doing that. There's the Sujimon League, where you battle like weird dudes against each other like Pokemon. You've got the Pokemon Snap style thing where you take photos of weirdos in bushes like gyrating in their underwear. Karaoke, the crazy taxi thing, the crazy delivery game. All this stuff, all in the same game. The sub-stories are all utterly bonkers. There's like things with UFOs, and like there's one where you have to fist fight a bulldozer. You got that alongside this like emotional, involving, like epic story that spans like 2 continents, but it doesn't feel inconsistent. It all feels part of a piece. You've got this party of characters who are all really interesting, and you enjoy spending time with them. And you can go out for like meals with your party, buy them dinner, and if you buy the right combination of food, they'll sit down and have a conversation that you can just sit there and watch them chatting over dinner.
Wasabi ahipoki, ginger ahipoki. Ahipoki ってどういう意味なんだ?
アヒはマグロのことでしたっけね。ポキはあれ何でしたっけ?
And it's really nice. I feel like these people are actually people I want to spend time with, rather than just like faceless. Hey, in the game.
I see how it is.
In video game terms, I'm saying, rather than just like, you know, a classic RPG party of there's like a stoic paladin and like a wizard like cradling his staff. You've got, you know, you order dinner for everyone and they're all like itadakimasu, and then you all sit there and eat noodles and go, wow, I've never had noodles like this. And you're like, well, these are a specialty of this area. And you're like, this is great. I love all these people. So, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is like I say, probably the best RPG I've ever played. It's consistently hilarious, doesn't take itself too seriously, and yet is one of the most emotional, affecting stories that I've played in recent memory. It just does everything super well, and I played it for like 100 hours. So yes, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Special shout out to Balatro as well, because I'll get there with the 100 hours eventually. But yeah, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. If you haven't checked it out, do. It's fantastic.
Big year for Yakuza as well, because the TV show came out, right, as well?
TV show came out. Yeah, there was also The Man Who Erased His Name.
That was like, yeah, a couple of months before this game came out.
And then in 2025, you're going to get Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, which is the best video game name ever, featuring Goro Majima sailing around in a pirate ship
with
being
his
a
eye
pirate.
patch,
With
looking
his eye patch.
like he's living his best life.
Yeah, and Mike was just saying that the next, was it Dead or Alive?
Virtua Fighter.
Sorry, Virtua Fighter. The next Virtua Fighter game is being developed by the Yakuza team, so probably Kiryu and Majima are all going to be in there. If you're a Yakuza fan, you're eating well at the moment.
Hello, Ellen wandered over from Outside Extra here, and I'm here to tell you that my game of the year is Astro Bot. Woo, it's so good! Why do I like it so much? Why is it my game of the year? Well, it's because it's freaking delightful. Astro Bot has fast become one of my favorite characters since playing Astro's Playroom. I'm a bit late on the series, but I absolutely adore it. It's really just a big old hit of, hey, do you like PlayStation things? Here's a whole, like, a nostalgia punch to the face of PlayStation things in cute robot form.
Is there Last of Us?
There is Last of Us. So in each of the levels, like, there's so many cute things about it. So first, Astro Bot himself is cute, but not only is there just him, there's a whole bunch of other little robots that you go around and collect, and they're all themed. There's even a little pyramid head. Who has shown up before in Astro's Playroom. But you go collect a little pyramid head, Astro.
Wasn't expecting to be harrowed by this game, but here I am being harrowed.
Bloodborne one. But the greatest thing, right, so this game is really fun because all the levels are so varied. You've got a bunch of different universes, like different galaxies that you go to, and within each one, there's so many different planets, and they're all themed. Each one, you're given like a special power. There's these little kind of boxing glove things, and there's a chicken that helps you jump higher. They're all really cute and creative and just very charming. But on top of that, each little galaxy, little area that you go to, once you've got to the end and once you've beaten the boss, you unlock an entire level that's themed to a PlayStation game. My two favorites within there are, there's basically one that is like God of War Ragnarok. So there's a whole level where you just, as a little Astro Bot Kratos, throw around the Leviathan axe. And then there's also a little Horizon Forbidden West Zero Dawn style one where you're a little Aloy bot with a bow and arrow. And like, you only have that thing for that level, but it's just wonderful and such a good homage to those games as well. There is, I believe, Ape Escape, the little ape ones, and you run around and you have to catch them with a net. And it's really cute, but it's just delightful. It plays really well. It's one of these games that's easy to learn, hard to master. I've not quite platinumed it because there are some, like, as well as the main levels, there's a bunch of like secret levels that you have to find within other levels, which then there's a whole other secret cosmos that you unlock. But then there's all these other things, like you're flying around a galaxy and then something like comet will go past and you'll have to chase it and break it up. And then that opens up a bunch of other little secret things, which is one of the Christmas challenges. Poor Andy had to go at one of those. And some of them are kind of like, okay, but there are some in the final galaxy that I've not quite finished. And I've sworn many times at my PlayStation 5 trying to finish
So eventually, I'd like to try and get the platinum on it because I've just really enjoyed it. So for those who enjoyed Astro's Playroom, it's that, but like a lot chunkier. There's a lot more to it, and I think the themed levels just are adorable. And yeah, it's just more of the same gorgeous stuff. Like the music is wonderful. There's still kind of the same level of humor in there. It's kind of been tweaked down a little bit. It's not an overbearing number of puns, which was sort of the case.
And this is your game of the year?
Yeah. Look, I love a pun, but if everything is a pun, you lose the essence of what is fun about a pun, you know? You need that surprise. Or they're a little bit more subtle, you know? It's joyful. It's something that you can play, you know, with kids. It's one of, you know, the few games that really makes use of the PlayStation's amazing controller and like actually utilizing everything and the motion controls and it not being egregious or annoying to do or making it too inaccessible. I absolutely adore it and it just made me happy. I'm gonna not spoil the ending, but like just a heads up, we'll talk about the ending, but not exactly what happens. I didn't expect to be quite so emotionally punched in the gut, Astro Bot. Okay, I'll just say that.
Does Pyramid Head murder everyone?
No, but
Okay.
there is a moment like where if you talk to other people who finished the game, everyone goes, yeah, I can't believe they did that. So look out for that. But yeah, all of that is why it's my game of the year. It's just joyful, and I think sometimes in games we forget to just be joyful. Like I love some serious stuff, but this is just num delicious. But I would like to give some honourable mentions to a couple of other fairly joyful games as well. Yeah, sorry. Maybe 3.
Come on!
Well, there was another very cute game with Aloy in it this year, Lego Horizon Adventures. I just thought that was adorable. I thought it was a brilliant game for kids bridging the gap between little kiddie games and grown-up games. I think it was really perfect, that, and then also fun for grown-ups. Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom was a really fun puzzle game with Zelda front and center with the little cute wand doing a bunch of really, really cute puzzles and just throwing rocks at things. Remember that, Mike? That was fun. I just threw rocks at things.
You mentioned 2 games where you murdered a lot of people and
Yeah.
committed atrocities.
Yeah.
I didn't really like spawn anything other than a rock and pick it up and throw.
And bludgeon it to death. My God.
Another little just random thing, so soon on Outside Extra, going to be talking about some games that we didn't fully get to cover on Outside Extra, which includes Astro Bot, so more Astro Bot there, but one of them was Flock, which is a really cute game where you fly around on a bird and you collect little flying animals and learn little calls to collect more animals in it. It's just bug snacks, but without the creepiness, you know? Vibes. No, it's really cute. I really enjoyed that. And it just meant that for days after playing it, in my head, I was just going, and all the little calls just in there forever. It was a good year for games. Some fun things, but yeah. Astro Bot is the best.
Well, howdy there. It's me, Mike, here to talk about my game of the year. But before that, I want to talk about my honourable mention. I had a bit of a think about this, my honourable mention. I thought about maybe putting Black Ops 6 in there, because I've been playing a lot of Black Ops 6, yeah.
Were you some kind of jock?
Feel that? They're about to break.
Yeah, I'm a jock bro with a KD of like 2.0 or whatever.
Sniper's dead.
The only KD I know about is KD Lang.
Actually, fine. I considered it, but I think the thing about Black Ops 6, and it is very good fun, and it's on Game Pass. If you have Game Pass, you should totally give it a go. Is it's sort of a refinement, right? Like Call of Duty multiplayer is extremely fun, and that's what I've been mainly playing. But it is really fun in the same way that all the really good Call of Duty multiplayers have been. So I don't think it's fair to put that one in. So I think for my honourable mention, I am going to choose the Marvel vs. Capcom collection. Part of the reason I want to choose this is because of how unlikely it is. So this game is a sort of morass of competing licenses. Obviously Capcom make the game, but also there's Marvel, and then there's all the Sony Spider-Man stuff and the X-Men stuff. And really, like, honestly, people thought this sort of re-release might never happen, but somehow Capcom rung round, persuaded everyone that actually we could make a lot of money by doing this. And they've created a really good collection of some of the best, like, old school fighting games there are, including Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which is the big one. They've added rollback netcode, which is this sort of special type of netcode for fighting games that makes it more accurate even if you're on like a slower connection. So it's a sort of real dream project. They've done a really good job with it. It's full of like, you know, additional features like museum pieces and stuff like that. And it also comes with a bunch of other great Marvel games like X-Men Children of the Atom, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, all these kind of games that we're building up to Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Does it have the pervert character who gets nosebleeds when he sees women's pants?
Andy, I've genuinely no idea what you're talking about.
I'm talking about Norimaru. The popular character Norimaru.
I believe Norimaru is in there, yeah. It was just really cool to see this come out and to be lavished with such care and attention. They're great fighting games. Funnily enough, I never really played these fighting games in period. Like, I didn't have a Dreamcast. I didn't have the PS2 version of Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Played a bit of Children of the Atom, but not loads. So as someone who's like quite a big Street Fighter fan and really likes Street Fighter, it was really fun to learn how these games work. They're very different sort of games. They've got, instead of like 3 punches and 3 kicks, they've got 2 punches, 2 kicks, and assist buttons basically. And the supers are really easy to pull off, so you can do some really flashy stuff. But they are wild in terms of their execution. You know, players who are good at these games, you look at it and it's almost impossible to pass what is going on because there's so many things flying around the screen. But that was the joy of playing it, was getting not to that level of skill, but at least to a level of skill where I could sort of understand what was happening and play it well. So yeah, I think as an honourable mention, it's really cool they're doing it. The next one they're doing is Capcom vs. SNK 2. Again, one of these things where they had to go and talk to SNK and agree to sort of co-license. But we've got that coming again with rollback netcode. All this stuff is like, these are the definitive versions of these games with the best netcode. And I played a bunch of games of MVC2 online with a friend and just had a brilliant time. So yeah, good job Capcom. Keep those retro game collections rolling because they are really fun.
One for JJ.
It was Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter.
There you go, Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter, the one with the pervert characters. So when you buy Marvel vs. Capcom collection, on my recommendation, you can skip straight to that so you can see the pervert character straight away.
Yep.
That's consumer advice.
His Ultra combo is called Ultra Variety Private Memories.
Oh my god, I do not want to see that guy's Ultra Variety Private Memories. But my game of the year is a game I wasn't necessarily expecting to like as much as I did. So there's a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. We occasionally do sponsored videos, right? And what tends to happen is that, you know, a company comes to us and says, hey, we've got this game. Would you like to play it? And you know, we'll pay you to play it. And normally what happens is we play it for a couple of hours, we have a bit of fun, you know, as we are wont to do. And then normally we sort of park that game and we don't play it again. Anyway, we did a sponsored video a little earlier in the year for a game called Metaphor ReFantazio, which is by the people who made Persona. And we played some Persona games on the channel as well. But I've never been like super into Persona, not super interested in it. The kind of high school thing, like, high school sucks. Why do you want to go back to high school? It's all exams and like petty rivalries.
Yeah, but this is high school where you're like an impossibly good-looking fashion model with loads of friends.
Yeah, but Andy, I can be an impossibly good-looking fashion model in a rich fantasy world.
Don't you have any street smarts? Come on, kid.
And that is what Metaphor ReFantazio offers you. So it's in theory, a brand new game, but really it takes a lot from that kind of Persona
It's fantasy
format.
Persona.
And it's fantasy Persona. But I really like, I sort of fell in love with the world in a way that I didn't expect to. It's a really interesting storyline. It's got a lot of kind of sort of political elements. It's a kind of interestingly, weirdly, in this year, it's sort of one of the main thrusts of the story is this sort of election. They're electing a king rather than it just being a sort of divine right thing. But via the medium of, rather than ballot papers, it's sort of a giant rock with faces on it in the sky that grow bigger depending on who's most popular.
I hear thy voices ring out in clarion truth. Here and now witness the faces of those most desired to become king.
Which I think we should institute as a method for democracy in our own country. Anyway, so it's got a really interesting world, a nice fantasy world. It reminded me a lot of one of the other games I could have chosen for this year, and if I'd spent more time playing it really, is Final Fantasy Rebirth. And what it reminded me of was that kind of feeling that I got with Final Fantasy VII, where you sort of enter into a world with its own sort of customs and politics, and it just felt fully formed in a way that a lot of games don't. A lot of games feel sort of surface level in the worlds that they create, but this one felt like really thought out.
The year is 785. Ukraine is shaken to the core by the sudden death of its king.
It was really nice to have a game that wasn't a sequel or a remake. There've been some brilliant sequels and brilliant remakes, but it was really nice to have a game that is set in a unique world, kicking off a brand new storyline, brand new world. And so I really fell in love with that. One of the things I was slightly worried about was that when we've played Persona games in the past, like I kind of, much as I like rag on the high school stuff, it's like that's kind of the fun bit, really, the story and moving things along. And then you end up doing this stuff where you go into a sort of procedurally generated tower in the middle of the night and just kind of grind your way through combat and kind of push through. And what I like about that is the idea of risking pushing further into the thing. But what I didn't like was how boring and kind of the procedural generation thing really took it out, took me out of the experience, because you start seeing the same repeated sort of patterns and floor plans and things like that. With Metaphor Refantasio, they've got those similar sort of like dungeons, but they are handcrafted and there are bits of story in there and things like that. So it feels less like two separate experiences and more like a complete cohesive whole.
Yes.
The children!
Got it.
And then, with that I was able to get more sort of into the combat, and the combat is very similar to Persona. There aren't personas, but there are these archetypes, so these big sort of amazing creatures that you turn into. These combat encounters are sort of like a puzzle, basically. So they've got a very robust and important, I suppose, system of weaknesses and strengths. And it's so important that you are playing against your enemy's weaknesses and avoiding, tripping over their strengths, essentially.
The power of heroes. Blaze! In the name of justice!
Sharp as always, Prius.
So that will depend on how which archetypes you choose and who you attempt to bring in. So to give a really cool example, that again, it wasn't something I realised was a possibility in the game, but I was kind of pushing hard into this dungeon, and I was starting to run out of MP. I hadn't brought enough magic point giving items. So and once you start running out of MP, you can't use your archetypes. You're kind of stuffed. But then I found out that one of the archetypes doesn't run on MP at all. It uses your health instead, and it's a kind of like brawler sort of archetype.
I'll destroy you!
Satisfactory.
So then I was like, well, I could quit and go back and move things on by a day, and you've got a kind of time limit. And I was like, do I really want to do that, or do I want to carry on, push on, and get as far through this thing as possible? So I switched to the brawler and started playing these really risky sort of games where I'm like in combat and using this thing and dropping the health, but using health items instead of using the magic point items. And it's just that level of texture and complexity to the combat has really kept me interested in a way that, granted, I didn't play like tons of Persona games, but I'm interacting with it in a level of depth that I hadn't been previously. Plus, then there's just the fact that it looks gorgeous. It's full of fancy, anime lads and ladies doing their thing.
The enemy design is absolutely nuts.
Yes, the enemy design is incredible. And I'll tell you why it's incredible. It's because it's almost, well, certainly the big bosses, they're almost all ripped off of Hieronymus Bosch, basically. So if you look at the Garden of Earthly Pleasures or whatever it's called, his triptych, like a load of the bosses are just lifted wholesale like that. But when you first see this thing with this multiple arms and like weird sort of pomegranate seeds, or a guy who looks like a sort of pigeon crossed with a geography teacher, that was weird. Yeah, the enemy design is amazing, and it ties into that kind of concept of the world. So I don't want to spoil too much of it, but it's really funny. There are all these different sort of fantasy races, including people who look like humans but are called Elder.
Huh? Look at you. What have we got here? He's an Elder.
So he is. No horns, no knifes.
What they refer to as humans are these horrible monsters. So it's like, there's a human attacking, and it's this gigantic mutant sort of horrifying thing.
Behold a human corpse. They are no mere rumor. They lurk and nest across the very land you call home.
So there's really fun stuff that plays with, and there's more to this, but there's stuff that plays with like what humanity looks like in this world and what it in comparison to what it looks like in our world. So yeah, it's spectacular. It's extremely stylish.
Let's go. Wind.
Speaking as a not very stylish man, God, it's just achingly stylish the whole time. Like all the menus look amazing, the UI looks incredible, everyone's fabulously dressed. It's very, very cool.
Fabulously dressed.
Well, I've got a very ugly Star Wars Episode 1 jumper. But yeah, it's very cool. It's a cool game. And actually, one of the coolest things about it is that if you want to try it, there is a demo and it is massive. So you don't need to necessarily take my word for it. You can go and try it. The demo, I think, took me 5 hours to get through, but I was not doing loads of sort of side quests and other bits that I could have been doing. It's a monstrous demo, and you can carry your progress over into the main game. So if you play the demo and you decide you like it, it's not wasted time. And it's good that it's not wasted time because it's 5 freaking hours.
Who let these blackguards into the palace?
If you want to give it a shot, like, just download the demo, right? You don't have to buy it to try it. And I think you will enjoy it. I've certainly got on with it a lot more than I thought I would. So yeah, a bit of a surprise for me, really. Definitely not necessarily my sort of genre, and I've never really been that bothered about the Persona games, but yeah, for some reason this one's really grabbed me. So yeah, enjoy.
Found out what a refantasio is yet?
Not yet, but I'm working on it, Andy. The game's about 100 hours long, and I will confess, I've not finished it yet because it's about 100 hours long.
Presumably you have to fantasio first.
Yeah, and then you can refantasio, obviously. Yeah, yeah. I think I'll be fantasioing over Christmas probably, and then maybe refantasioing in the new year. So I can't do it if you're watching though. So get out of here.